Listen to this episode if you are trying to build a premium, more luxury, elevated brand in maybe a more mainstream category. Today, we're going to be diving into all things building a premium brand. What does it mean? How do you do it? Some major myths and major tips and tricks along the way. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear from founders is I want to build a premium brand. But then I look at everything that they're doing and they're building a discount mainstream brand instead. There's major mistakes that are happening and there's major must-haves in building a premium brand that just don't exist in other categories. So truly being premium is not just about your price tag. You can actually charge 5, 10x than the average, but that doesn't just mean that you are suddenly a premium brand. You have to actually have certain categories in your branding, in your marketing, in your customer experience that actually make you a premium brand. That is what we are going to dive into today. By the end of this episode, you will have a full takeaway of exactly what you need to do and what you don't do in order to build a premium brand. At the end, we're going to rapid fire through basically a checklist of things that I really want you to take note to. So make sure that you stick around to the very end. Of course, we're going to dive right into this. Before we do, I just want to take 10 quick seconds. Hello, my name is Madison Page. I'm the host of the Business Growth Podcast. Just in case you're new here, I want to say welcome. We are here building category leading brands within any product category. We help you stand out and sell out your products so you can truly be that next top of your industry. And premium brands are just one of the type of brands that we can talk to, but this is what the topic is today. Premium, luxury, elevated. How do you actually go about building something that is charging 5, 10x more than what the mainstream products really are? So what does premium actually mean? Premium doesn't just mean expensive. Premium more so means perceived value that that product has. When somebody lands on your social media, how do they immediately feel? Do they feel like, ooh, this brand is going to be expensive, or this brand is going to really provide the experience that I'm looking for? People don't buy luxury because it's the cheapest. People don't buy a premium option because it's the most affordable or it makes the most sense. They buy because what owning that product says about them and or what they think it will actually do for them that's better than the mainstream product. So you're not necessarily selling the product when it comes into mainstream premium brands. You're more so selling the identity of owning this product, of the taste, the belonging, the confidence, the solution that it might provide. You're basically saying, if you own this product, this is going to make you feel this way that's better than the mainstream. It's going to kind of elevate you in a totally different way. People don't pay more because they have to. They pay more because they want to, for the feeling or the solution that they're going to get from it. And so it allows for you to actually charge a lot more, whether that mean that your margins are much higher or that it just allows for you to have a more sustainable product. This doesn't just mean it has to be $100 or you need to have a $300 product in order to make this make sense. But a $40 hairbrush is a premium option within that category because I could go to Target and get a hairbrush for $12.99. A $50 moisturizer is a premium product in that category because I could go and get that same similar moisturizer at Target for, again, $10.99. But we can also look at a company that might be selling tea that is more expensive in their category because it's more of a gifting experience and it really just moves people into a different direction than just taking this tea off of the grocery store aisle. So it's not just luxury price point, it's also how you make people feel when they come in contact with it that actually gets people to justify that higher price point. So it's not necessarily how can I get people to spend more, it's how can I get people to justify this naturally. So we're going to talk about this, and really at the beginning is I want to talk first some examples, then we're going to talk some myths and some must-dos, and then of course we're going to wrap it on up with kind of your rapid fire of what to do, not to do, things like that. First things first, I want to give you some examples. A really good example here is thinking about Walmart versus Target. Very similar products, but Target does feel a little bit more premium. Or if you think of like a Walmart versus a Bloomingdale's, even though they don't sell the exact same products, they are kind of like a larger department store of a variety of different goods. They do still have similar products, but Bloomingdale's, it might not have grocery, but they might have some product, some food product that's a little bit more luxury. When you walk into a Bloomingdale's, you're expecting a different experience and you're expecting a different caliber of product than when you're walking through a Walmart. Thinking about Old Navy versus Anthropologie, they both sell dresses, shirts, skirts, but they sell them at very different price points. But the actual branding of walking through the store is very different. I also think a really good example here is Anthropologie versus Free People. Anthropologie and Free People are owned by the same parent company, but they're both premium brands, but they also have different ideal customers in the same category. They've learned how to master the art of building a premium brand to different customers. They're a really great one, and we'll dive into that when we talk more about customers in a second. This is the difference between buying like a generic water bottle at the grocery store and somebody wanting to buy the Fiji water or the Smart Water. That's a couple dollars more. It's a more premium product, even though the difference is between $1 and maybe $5 for a bottle of water. Fiji water is still more expensive because they've built more brand around it. This is the same thing as drugstore skincare versus buying something like Rhode or some of these other category leaders that people are really loving. Again, it's the Graza olive oil versus, I literally don't know another brand of olive oil, maybe Chosen, one of those, but those are still premium. We're looking at the generic olive oil out there. People spend more because they want to. They spend more because they feel aligned with it. They spend more not because they actually think the product is that much better, but because they want that product. The product category isn't actually changing at all. It's just the positioning and the entire brand that is built around it. I saw an example the other day on Instagram, and I actually reposted it, so you can go and watch it on my Instagram at This Is Madison page. But I saw a experiment that Payless did. Payless shoes. I want you to think about the perception that you have of Payless shoes right now. I haven't been in a Payless shoes since I was like going to homecoming in freshman year of high school, right? I haven't been to a Payless shoes in a very long time. My perception of Payless shoes is that they are discount. They're not very high quality. They're not very in fashion. They're kind of dated and they're just cheap, right? But what Payless did is they rented out a mall and they basically made it look like the exact same shoes, exact same product, but they put these shoes and this product in like a high fashion store. They showed one at a time. They had shopping associates that were shopping with them. They had these murals going on. It was just a very luxury looking experience. It basically looked like a Louis Vuitton, but you were shopping Payless shoes. They called it Palessi, and they had people come in and people were making up full brand identities around this brand, but they would interview them and they'd be like, oh, Palessi is just, they're so in front of their times. Everything is always so in style and fresh. Even if it's expensive, it's worth it. They were saying they would spend $500 on these shoes, and they were actually going to the checkout. And when they would get to the checkout, they were told that they were Payless shoes, and they couldn't believe it. But what they did is they changed the brand that Payless had. You walk around to Payless and you're expecting inexpensive shoes. You're expecting to buy a pair of shoes for maybe $20 to $50. There might be some Birkenstocks that you can get in there, but the perception of Payless, there's not very many people there to help you. It's not like a luxury experience by any means. There's a million options. They're stacked from head to toe of all of the options that you can pull off the shelves. It screams quantity, right? Usually when things scream quantity, it doesn't necessarily scream premium. So when they took all of that away and rebranded Payless, people's natural inclination was, wow, these are going to be expensive. These are going to be $500. This is just such a great brand and they're going to last. And I'm going to have them for my entire life. That exactly is what we're talking about here. And again, it doesn't just necessarily have to be price point, but the experience and the branding that they had allowed for that to take. So one thing that we have to think about when it comes to premium brands is we do have to think about your customer. Payless is marketing to a mainstream customer. They are marketing literally in the name, pay less. They are trying to be the most affordable option, which means they are not going to naturally be a premium option in the industry. They are marketing to people that might not have disposable income to spend $500 on a pair of shoes. Your customer matters more than your product in this. So your product, even if they are selling the same shoes as some of these other brands, they are saying, this is who my customer is, and we're speaking their language. So if you have a premium brand, you need to know who your customer is. You need to know what is their ideal identity and how can we actually speak to them. And do we know that they have at least a little bit of disposable income? Thinking about Rode. Now, Rode doesn't mean that they are the top 1% in the world buying Rode. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is that they had an audience that they knew would splurge on a product that would make them feel better. Even if people are not the wealthiest people in the world, they do still buy premium products if you make them feel like it is worth it. It's probably one of the biggest lessons here is that if you try to appeal to just mainstream and you're saying, we are just like everybody else, you become the premium to nobody. What you have to do is that premium brands know exactly who they are for. They know what that person values. They know the language to use, and they know what lifestyle that the customer is trying to create. And then they emulate it and say, if this is your lifestyle, this is the speak that you are, this is the type of person, then you need our product. And this is what we really have. They know their audience has money to splurge if they find that it's worth it. But if you choose an ideal customer that is struggling financially, it's going to be very hard to be premium. You have to market your brand at the forefront as somebody that is premium. They have to have that feeling that when they come into it, this is going to be expensive and it's worth it for me to actually buy that product. To give you an example, I have a client right now that her hero product, and it was kind of just naturally what they started to see was making more sales. So they pushed it as their hero product. And it was the $19 product on their website versus they are very premium in their industry. The average is probably $7 to $15 and they're anywhere from 50 to 90. And the product that was naturally selling was this $19 product. And then we looked at the data and those people weren't coming back to buy this higher end, main product that we actually wanted them to buy. They also were not buying anything else on our website other than that low ticket. So our average order value was low. Our customer acquisition cost was really high, but it was also what was selling. So they started just, okay, well, we'll just push that as our hero product, but it actually wasn't building the premium brand that we wanted. So in the ads, in their marketing, in their messaging, we completely flipped it to have the main product that's $50 to $90 be the actual focal point and trying to show the quality and why it's worth it for them to buy that. And that became their hero product. Their average order value was up $30 to $50 literally within weeks. And we started to see that the return customer rate started to jump from about 9 to about 35, which is actually very healthy within this category. And so what we did is we actually switched the audience we were selling to, and it actually started to build the momentum in this premium category. You really have to look at identity first. What do we want to sell first? How are we actually selling this and positioning it differently? And are you actually shooting yourself in the foot with trying to talk to the lowest end product all the time? You have to be able to really speak the person's language. What are they into? What do they love? What do they hate? I work with brands truly all the time where the industry product average is $15 and they might be selling something for $50 or $100, or they're selling perfume that is for $120 when they could go to Walmart and find one for $12, right? But they're selling the brand, they're selling the feeling, and they know how to speak to that customer. Not because that customer is asking, is this the cheapest option or am I going to love this the most? They're asking, does this fit my lifestyle? Does this create the vibe that I want to have in my life? Does this reflect my taste? Do I trust this brand? Does this make me feel more elevated? Those are completely different buying motivations that people that are just selling mainstream are like, I just need to get this out there. I just need somebody to see it. This could be bought by anybody. That's great. If you want to build a premium product, you have to know who it is, how to speak to them, and what their identity really is from a very visual sense as well.
Hey, I've been getting some DMs that you may not know what I do outside of hosting this podcast. I actually work with product-based business owners every single day to help them grow and scale their brand. If you really want my eyes one-on-one inside of your business to look at your strategy, to look at your funnels, to look at your data, and to develop your next campaign or bring your business or your idea to life, that is exactly what I do every single day. I've worked with 500 plus businesses across 70 different industries to help them become the next household name in their industry. If you are craving a business brain, a strategic advisor, a data-centered, obsessed person to come into your business and help you bring your idea to life, I'm your gal. Come on over to my Instagram at This Is Madison page, DM me support. Otherwise, you can click the link in the show notes to apply today. Okay, back to the episode.
Premium brands absolutely sweat the details. It's not just in the actual product itself. Yes, you do need to care about your product, but what is actually more important when it comes to building the premium brand is the branding side of things. They care about their packaging, the small details on the website, photography, product descriptions, the customer experience that they have, the email flows. What does it mean when they come in contact with your brand? And what is that entire general experience? It's the little typography. I've spent 20 minutes debating icons on the website of what they should be because they're so small, but they do portray an image about a brand. They care about the texture and the small little words on their packaging. It's not something that they're just whipping up and putting out there because the details are what actually separates you from everybody else. The details are what are saying, wow, this really does feel very different. And when people are spending 5 to 10 times more on a product, they want to feel the details. They are communicating that, wow, this brand really cares. And this product, this money was so worth it because the details and the care was obviously taken. It also portrays the fact that this is a higher quality product, even if it's not. It's the same thing, again, going back to Anthropologie. Some of the Anthropologie products are the same that you can buy on Amazon. Same manufacturer selling the same product, but people buy things from Anthropologie thinking it's going to last longer because it has the brand and the name around it. I always say that my job ruined shopping for me because I know the ins and outs of where these brands are buying from, how they're getting these things manufactured and what it really looks like and how the manufacturing world actually works. When you see a dupe, very often, not always, very often, they are an actual dupe of a product that's out there that they really are just selling, but there's no middleman, so they're able to sell it for a lot less. And, there's no brand behind it, so they're just selling you for the actual product. This is what we have on Amazon. Yes, go and buy it. It's what a lot of drop shippers are doing, is they're utilizing dupes to actually sell the same product. So you're looking at apples to apples on Amazon versus Anthropologie sometimes, and yet you're still willing to pay the extra $100 that you might be spending on Anthropologie because of the perceived value, the perceived quality, and the perceived experience you will get from shopping at Anthropologie. And when these customers feel like that they have that, then they trust the product more and they feel like that experience is worth the extra money to be able to feel that way. One of the biggest things that I do want to talk about when it comes to a premium brand is the aesthetics absolutely matter. This is where a lot of people argue with me. Shouldn't the product speak for itself? Sure, eventually. But truly, first, it has to attract this audience. There is just like this je ne sais quoi of a premium brand that when people come in contact with it, they're like, ooh, wow, what is this? Let me look deeper into it. Wow, this looks really cool. If you don't have that premium feeling when people come in contact with your brand, then they just don't expect the price to be the same level. The people end up having sticker shock. You need to set the scene in your marketing from the very first interaction that this is going to be a premium product. We don't want any reason that somebody goes to your website and they're like, holy cow, that's like 10 times more expensive than I expected it to be. We want them to go there saying, all right, this is going to cost me a little bit. It's like when you walk into a nice restaurant, you don't expect that burger to be $12. If everybody's dressed up really nice, the lighting is low, the experience is really great, and it obviously is a very nice restaurant, if the steak was $12, you would be skeptical. You walk in there saying a steak is probably going to be $50. That's what you're trying to do in your own marketing and in your own touch points. How do you really do that? It is all about the experience and the aesthetics that you're doing. Expensive looking brands don't happen accidentally. Everything is intentional. It's the photos, it's the fonts, it's the colors, it's the angles, it's the quality that you're putting into it. You don't have to spend millions of dollars to get this, but you really do just have to care. It's about the packaging. One thing that I do see here sometimes, so I just bought a flouse. I don't know if you know what that is. It's basically an electric flosser. It was probably I honestly don't even know. It might have been like it was a little over $100. And it's an electric flosser. It makes it easier for you to floss. I don't know. I've been on my flossing game this year, and that was something that I wanted to buy. That is a premium product. If you go and look at their social media, they don't look like they should be at a museum, right? You can connect with them. They still feel very mainstream, but you can tell when you go to this website, I wasn't expecting this flosser to be $30. When I got their packaging was beautiful. They had samples throughout. It was all very custom packaging, custom fit, and it felt like a really fun experience to open it up. So their marketing doesn't necessarily have to be for looking all of this incredible quality and looking like it's going to cost me $1,000. Doesn't need to have Chanel bags all over it and like Lamborghinis for me to think that it's going to be expensive. It doesn't have to be mysterious and bespoke. That's a major myth that I hear when it comes to premium brands as well. Shouldn't we be kind of like mysterious? No, you don't have to be mysterious. Flouse is a great example of a brand that I expected for it to be around $100 when I came into looking at the brand. But what they did is they have quality, they're educating, and they're also doing something called association networks. So if you look at the other products that they're placing next to their product, they're saying people that like these products, which were other high-end expensive name brand products, will also like us. Now, if they were holding it next to a Colgate toothpaste and a plastic toothbrush, I would say, maybe this is going to be $30. But because they have it next to a really nice electric toothbrush and they have it next to, other beauty products in the bathroom, I was expecting it to be a little bit more expensive. I think it's a great example that premium doesn't necessarily have to mean that you are this mysterious, super high-end looking company. You can be premium by having quality, by having taste, and by just giving these signals. There's association networks or price signaling from the very beginning. There's strategies that we put in place in all of our premium brands that say that this is going to be a little bit more expensive. So you don't need to be mysterious. People do still need to connect to you. If Flouse's founder is out on videos all the time, because they do still need the same level of connection points. You still need to be likable. And people still need to understand what you're buying. It doesn't mean that that stuff goes away and your branding is just going to take over. So yes, the aesthetics do matter, the branding does matter, but you do still need the meat and bones of marketing, of educating and connection and likability there as well. Something that's really an epidemic in the business world right now is people just slapping the word luxury or premium or fine in their marketing and saying that they actually are a luxury brand. You have to prove it in many other ways. Just because you want to sell something for more money, saying luxury doesn't necessarily actually make you luxury, and it's not convincing anybody that you're luxury. One of the fastest ways to cheapen a brand is to constantly tell people that you're premium and that you're luxury and that you're high end. Premium brands don't need to announce it. They just portray it. They demonstrate it with every single touch point. It's through the quality, through the consistency, through the identity that they're showing, through the experience, and through the restraint of the things that they're not doing. People should arrive at the conclusion that this is going to be a premium product without you actually having to say it. So very often when I work with somebody, I'm removing the word premium. I'm removing the word luxury from their voice all of the time because you don't have to explain. Nobody has to say that Hermes is a luxury brand. Hermes isn't out there saying the most luxury bags on the market. People know that. The Birkin speaks for itself. That's what we're trying to portray in your own marketing within your own industry. So one of the major things here is that people always are trying to just compete on price. But if you are here listening to this episode, you are not somebody that is trying to compete on price. You're trying to compete on connection, on identity, and how people actually feel when they come in contact with the brand. I want to talk about what kills premium perception nearly immediately. This is your checklist of absolute don'ts when it comes to building a premium brand. There are a few things that you can do that absolutely cheapen your brand nearly immediately. And I want to dive into those in a rapid fire way. And then we'll kind of dive into what this really means and the major takeaway. First things first is constant discounts. If you are a premium product, again, within retrospect of your industry, you are charging 2, 3, 5, 10 times what the average is. You are trying to be a premium product if that is you, and you are constantly discounting. You are no longer a premium product. If you are looking like absolutely everybody else, you look like you could just plop you right on a shelf and it's going to blend in with everything else. You put all of these other brands right next to you, you are killing your premium nature. You need to have something that's a little bit unique. If you have inconsistent branding or just lack of branding overall, and this isn't just colors and fonts, this is the elevated nature of what you're building. If you have cheap photography, that there's no photo shoots or video shoots going on, and it really is all iPhone product, and you don't have somebody editing some of these pieces, it cheapens your brand. If you are trying to talk to literally absolutely everybody and you don't actually have a real person and a real identity, you're not actually speaking to anybody, and it is cheapening your brand. If you have too many product options, you are cheapening your brand. If you're somebody rolling out collections every 4 to 6 weeks with 30 different product options, that's actually telling people that this is too quick of a process. The slow process is good. Some of my premium brands, we launch 3 to 5 times a year. Maybe we have little things here and there. You don't need to be launching a ton of times. If you are saying yes to every trend or everything that you feel like you just need to jump on, premium brands stand in their own right. They stand in their own identity, and they're very confident in who they are because they're standing out. They're not trying to blend in. If you are over explaining things as well, if you are really trying to over explain the fact as to why you are luxury, again, it should speak for itself. If you have to say why our product is worth the 10x, we should just kind of know that when we come into connection with your products. If you look desperate for sales or you have this inconsistent experience throughout everything that you're doing, you are cheapening your product. Every little crack here lowers that perceived value. When you approach a brand, what are you expecting? Are you expecting it to be more mainstream? I want you to go around and look at some of the latest breakout brands or just brands in general. I want you to go around and look at how Old Navy versus Banana Republic markets to their audience. Again, I believe those two companies, I know Old Navy owns like a ton of products. I think it's Banana Republic, Loft, all of those. Like, go and look at those two brands. If we're looking at an Old Navy and then we're looking at a Banana Republic, look at how Banana Republic is selling something similar, same product category, but you immediately expect it to be a little bit more expensive. That's what we're trying to build here. When we talk about building and marketing and sales within this premium category, it is still doing everything else that we talk about in marketing. We're not really changing much of our marketing or our sales. It's just everything amplified. And it doesn't mean it needs to be expensive. It doesn't mean it needs to be harder. It just means that everything is a little bit more intentional. When you're selling a product that really is just mainstream, it's $10, $15, $20. There's nothing wrong with having an entry level, price point or like a mainstream price point. There's many of my clients do that. However, if you are trying to sell something for more, you just need to be more intentional about the process, about the photo shoots, about the concepts, about your marketing, about your customer experience, your emails. We want these things to feel like you are actually going the extra mile. What we are building here is something that just feels worth it at the end of the day. If I could sum it up, it's something that demonstrates that you are obviously going to be a little bit more expensive upon the first visit, because people are we are built to perceive how expensive these things are going to be. And if it's a big jump from where they expect, we've all had that experience where we're like, oh, I'll go and shop at this boutique and you walk around and then all of a sudden you look at a price tag and it's like $800 for a pair of jeans and you're like, oops, not in the right store, not what I wanted, right? That's not something that's, within this price range. I'm not trying to do that today. What you just did is that boutique did not do well price signaling that this was going to be expensive. We don't want that on your website. What we want is when every touch point people have with you, they're expecting it to be beautiful. They're expecting it to be a little bit higher, a little bit more premium. They're expecting it to be expensive, right? If you want to become a category leading premium brand, you don't just want to ask, how do I justify charging this more? You have to start asking, what experience am I creating that makes paying more feel obvious? What experience and what am I demonstrating that obviously makes people say this is going to be worth it? How can we build intrigue around that concept of worth it? This is worth the 5x. This is worth the 10x. Premium brands aren't just built on increasing prices. Your pricing is not what we're talking about here. They're built by increasing perceived value at every single touch point. And when you get that, people stop comparing you to everybody else and you're standing on your own. It's all about being within your own right. And it's all about really figuring out how can you position yourself differently, better speak to the audience that actually does have the money to spend on this, and or tell people that might be on the brink of, is this worth it? Is this not? That this is a really good splurge for them to have. This is how you build a premium brand. If you see people out there charging 10x what you're charging and you're like, how the heck did they do that? Or you are already building a brand that is a higher price point than the average, or you have maybe a collection of your products that is a more premium price point. These are some of the things to do, not to do, and things that are absolutely necessary that you need to be focusing on every single day. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you dive into all of these things. If you have any questions on it, we will, of course, be diving into this in the Founder Cafe, which is my free podcast community. You can click the link in the show notes and join us there. I hope that this was helpful. Please join us over on Instagram at This Is Madison Page. You can DM me there, and I would love to talk to you about your premium brand as well. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.